the tricky part and the real important part for this style, the Travis pick style, is coming up. This is the right hand part. Again, what the thumb is doing is a regular repetitious pattern that, in a sense, the thumb wants to get on automatic pilot. It's very, very much like the left hand of the pianist when he's doing a stride piano style. It's the part that makes your toe tap. It's the part that's rhythmic and regular. And automatic pilot's not a bad way to think of what the thumb is doing here. The fingers, while the thumb's doing automatic pilot, the fingers are doing really the melody of the song. They're doing the da-ba-do-da, da-ba-do-da. When we get to Deep River Blues, they're doing little hints of melodies for the part that we're about to talk about now. So now, without further ado, let's get on to the right hand part. We now have to introduce this idea that the thumb is doing one thing while the fingers are doing another. Best way to do that is forget about the fingers for a moment. Thumb, you're on. And what you're going to be doing with this E chord, which my left hand is making, is that pattern. 6, 4, 5, 4, 6, 4, 5, 4. You may notice at the moment that my right hand it's arched in a way. It's not touching, and the fingers are not actually touching the pick guard. They can. There's a lot of people who play that way, and eventually we're going to be doing something fairly different with the heel of our hand. I'll just introduce the idea right now briefly, but we're going to see it more in a minute. Eventually, if we want the muting that really accompanies Travis pick style, eventually our whole hand shape is going to have to be different in order to accommodate this muting. The fact of the matter is that feels very awkward at first, and I don't suggest we start with that. But that's where we would like to head eventually. So, the thumb goes 6, 4, 5, 4. Of course, that's only for the E chord. For the A7th, there's a slightly different pattern. 5, 4, 6, 4, 5, 4, 6, 4. May seem the same. The difference, of course, is this one started on the 5. If you wonder why, it helps remember that this is an A note. We're in an A7th chord. A minute ago, we started on the E note. We were in an E chord. In other words, we're going to start on the root every time. And that's a pretty good rule of thumb, haha, good pun, for all of these chords. So, thumb, you've got 2 out of the 3 little assignments you need, but B7th is the third. It's going 5, 4, 6, 4. So in this sense, it's just like what we did with the A. As far as the right-hand thumb is concerned, it's exactly the same as what we did the A7th. A difference, of course, is if you remember, our left hand was alternating that bass. So the left hand is actually part of this thing too. At any rate, here, their thumb is your job. It basically is no more complicated than that, and that can be done fairly easily. In fact, this whole thing would be easy if there was no fingers involved, but there are. So, while that's going on, you may notice that this first note that we hit as a melody note is timed right along with the thumb. Another way of saying that is it's an on beat. It's literally the 2 beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you really can you can say that there are 4 beats per measure that the thumb's doing, and we can then number them 1, 2, 3, 4, and then say you are hitting with the second beat. That's half of the pattern right there. The other half is working in the second string. Now I'm going to interrupt myself for a second to raise a question. What fingers are you supposed to use? There really is no right answer for that. And therefore, I'm not going to dwell too much on what this person does, what that person does. There are tons of ways of doing that, and as you can see, there's no reason why you can't use one finger for everything. That's perfectly acceptable, and in fact, Reverend Gary Davis plays that way. There's really no reason why you need any more than one finger for this, but it would be very, very nice to have more than one finger eventually. And in fact, cutting to the chase, I play with 3 fingers. I play somewhat similar to what a classical trained player, although that's hardly me, might do. I assign my index finger often, not always, but often, to the 3rd string. I assign my middle finger to the 2nd string, and my ring finger to the 1st string. So this pattern doesn't use any 3rd string at all. And so index, you're kind of unemployed for the moment. That's how I finger it. And you can see that it's ring, middle, ring, middle. Here's the good news, fingers. You've basically learned what you need to do for all of the other two chords. Fingers are doing exactly the same thing as they were doing a second ago. So what's different? Well, of course, I've changed to A7th with my left hand, but also the thumb, you may remember, has this different pattern. It would seem logically like I just tell my thumb to do that different and then do the same fingers. What's the big whoop? It's really quite difficult at first to tell your fingers to do one thing, the same thing, and then to tell your thumb to do another. But we'll get it. At some point, it won't be all that long, you'll be saying, what was the hard part of that? That was easy. The B7th is literally exactly the same thing from the point of view of the right hand as the A7th was. So in other words, eventually you'll be able to go from the A7th to B7th, and the right hand doesn't do anything different. Here's the whole thing. That was the A7th chord. We're now back to the E6th chord, B7th chord. E6th chord again. A7th chord. Now we're going to go to the B7th chord. That's it.